I'm Leigh, and I have the honour of being the chairperson of Notts Pride and have been for the last 10 years. I moved to Nottingham in 1989 when I was just 17, so Nottingham is my adopted city and I couldn't think of anywhere else better to live. First LGBT plus role model, I grew up in the 80s. Much of my youth was observing because I was always a bit an observant child, and I also like to reflect on things. I think my first role model, because I have huge adoration for them now, was Boy George, but at the time he wasn't out as LGBT plus, so it was following his journey and understanding what difference was for me. Because when I think about it, I was really fascinated by people like Toyah Willcox, Susie and the Banshees, so I wasn't following the mainstream of Adam and the Ants and madness. So to follow that journey, and then Marilyn came along, and that was like, wow, that's next level step up from Boy George. But when that all started to make sense, because I would only have been around 10 or 11, it was something that, one, I could aspire to, two, I loved people living life without filters, and three, they were visible. I think there's a variety of people. As we move into the 90s, for me, role models were the people that set up ACT UP, you know, when we were looking at HIV and AIDS, and that was such a crisis at that time, and the people that came forward for that. There's organisations that I admire and respect, and locally, I think it's some of our local activists around the time of the 90s where I would have been 17, that you didn't necessarily know their name, but they started some of the first protest marches from Hockley in response to the attack on Mushroom Bookshop. I have lots of people that I admire and I aspire to follow in their footsteps, but also to remember them as well. My experience of visibility comes from lived experience. So when I started work in 89, to be out and to be a gay man just wasn't heard of. We were living under the shadow of Section 28. Everything was secretive. I don't think necessarily that was such a bad thing in terms of how you develop as a person, but you learn traits that can tend to be on the down low. When I started my first proper job that I'm still in, and I reflect back on that, you didn't say that you were gay, you didn't say you were part of the LGBTQ plus community, you just kind of sidestepped that. So you couldn't be authentic, you couldn't be yourself. If you went out to MGM on a Monday night, the first Monday of every month was MGM night, and I would go to work in some shocking states the next day, but you couldn't say that's where you'd be. As the years have passed, the Equality Act has come in. Before that, the various other formations of that act, and equal opportunities was one of the first steps. That's when you could start to be a little bit more open, to a point where I think I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to be myself. And I think visibility, it frees people to be their authentic selves, to be who they're meant to be their true selves. Who doesn't feel like they can flourish when they feel they can be themselves? So that's what visibility means to me. Representation, that's hugely important. I think we've got a problem in Nottingham at the moment in terms of our bars and clubs that are available. We've lost a lot. We'd like to see that flourish again. And representation, how we see ourselves in the media, how we see ourselves in TV programmes, that's a lot better than it was back in the 1990s. And I was just talking to someone yesterday about a musical that came here to Theatre Royal a couple of years ago. I won't name it, but it was very much of its time. It was set back in the 80s where LGBTQ plus people were there to laugh at. That was what was happening. Some of the stereotypical joke for a new musical was just, for me, not appropriate. I did me bit and had a say with the theatre, and thankfully we won't see that come back to Nottingham. Jokes like that just reinforce stereotypes that are just not there anymore. We're never there in the first place, to be fair. When I was here in Nottingham in 89, it had a thriving LGBTQ plus scene. It might have been on the edge of the city, on the edge of people's conscious, but it was there, and we were there, and we were living our lives. When I first moved here, my setup was I rented a flat in the park with 2 trans women and another 2 gay men. So that was my first experience of living in Nottingham, and it was fab. But as times changed, you started to see that disappear off, and that was because we lost a lot of the venues, because they were safe spaces for us. Equality Act comes and we should all have access to all venues, all bars, whatever else it is you like to enjoy, but still we need those safe spaces. We always will. I think within the wider community, and something that I was very keen to do with Notts Pride, because Notts Pride was very much at the time, although it was marvellous, it was using themes such as the Mad Hatter's Tea Party and Alice in Wonderland, and it was very important to me to bring back our Pride March to what it was meant to be, what it was intended as an equality march. So one of the things that we do within Notts Pride is ensure that underrepresented, marginalised communities within the LGBTQ plus community are front and centre of our march, so they will always be seen first. I think that's hugely valuable because, like I said earlier, and visibility is hugely important. To be acknowledged for who you are is something that I don't think we could ever put into words. To be yourself, to be seen, and to be part of a community that's behind you, it's just a great opportunity and something wonderful to be part of. Following on from what we did with our Notts Pride March in terms of bringing visibility to the streets of Nottingham, Nottingham. And yeah, some people will say that that's one day a year, but for those people that attend, that changes things for them. I'll give you an example. We changed our location this year to Stenton Market. Stenton Market, not a lot of people know about it. Wonderful place to be, if you know. And we worried, and I worried a lot about doing that, thinking, would people come and what would it look and feel like? It was marvellous. But what I do is I go out every month, and the number of LGBTQ plus people you see there now, because there are spaces for them, there are shops for them because there are independent shops for us, that you start to see that we've brought a new vibrancy to another part of the area. They're different. They're embracing diversity, embracing your LGBTQ community. It's vast. It is. Other representation, always make sure that we represent our local Notts LGBTQ plus talent on our Notts Pride stage. Yeah, we like to mix it up with a few others, but front and centre will always be our local performers, because that's important. Their opportunity to stand in front of their own community and show their talent, will always continue to do that. Visibility, again, will always keep Notts Pride free. Being free means those people that worry about it, who feel like they might be excluded because they can't afford the £30-20 tickets that other places are charging, we'll never ask them to do that, because it's about our community. Sometimes we need to do a bit of consultation with people to ensure that we're getting it right, but I think I've been around long enough to see, to understand, to know there are tribes of people that I've lived with, worked with. In terms of representation, I think we generally get it right, and that's because I'm absolutely passionate about everybody being seen. I think the significant challenges are challenges that have been there for a long, long time, is around acceptance. What we tend to see is that when we're in difficult circumstances, such as a cost of living crisis, or there's something else going on, that we start to point fingers at our marginalised communities. And I think that's one of the things that we have to watch very carefully, because things can turn very quickly. Rights can be given, rights can be taken away. Values and acceptance can be given and can be taken away very quickly, and opinions can change. So I think for all of us, we have to keep our eye out on that, and we need to have our community's backs on all of the issues that we currently face. For our transgender community, for our L, G and B community as well. You only have to see that when we publish the date for Notts Pride in the Nottingham Evening Post, it's almost like it's an annual ritual now. Who can say the most offensive thing before, one, I have to step in and ask Nottingham Evening Post to pack it in and close down the comments, or two, Nottingham Post realise it itself. What we see on Twitter, some of the messages that we get in terms of how people feel religiously about LGBTQ plus people, not understanding that there will be religious LGBTQ plus people, it's still there. And that's why I'm still here after 10 years. Every year I keep saying, do you know what, it's time to move it along, but then something happens and I think, I can't just let go quite yet until we've got that right, until we start to see the shift that we need to see, that's significant enough that people feel that they can be themselves every day of the year. We've been and introduced ourselves to the Pride shop in Nottingham, and if you believe in what you're doing, if you see the difference that you're making in the community, then that's all that matters, isn't it? Whatever else other people have to say, words generally, we've heard them all before, particularly if you get to my age group, you've heard them all before, none of them are new. And I know it's different for people that are younger with how they feel about things, but we've been fighting this fight for a long time, and sometimes it's easy, sometimes it gets difficult again. I think we might be in difficult times at the moment, but we just keep going, and that's what I would say to them, is just keep going. What you're doing is something that's got value, hugely important, particularly for people that don't necessarily want to be in bars or nightclubs, sober. That's a great space for them. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, if it becomes a lot more than that, then that's where we working as part of NottsLGBT Network, being part of Notts Pride affords you certain opportunities to access people generally you wouldn't be able to access, such as Notts Police, such as our local councillors, such as our MPs. Those are the people that can help make change. My first Nottingham Pride was 1998, and it was at the castle, and there was Sam Fox. I always say it was Sam Fox on the back of an ice cream van. She wasn't, but and that's where I met my husband. That was my first Pride. I knew of Pink Lace, which was 97, but kind of didn't get myself involved in that. There'll have been many reasons at the time. I'll have been a haughty 20-something. Yeah, it was the Nottingham Castle, and it rained all day. For me, Pride, and the reason that I do Notts Pride was, we've talked about the first one, the one that was significant for me was Pride in 2011, I think it was. It was at the Arboretum, and there was a stall, Nottingham Fostering and Adoption. That was when I think laws had changed around same-sex couples being able to adopt. That was our first step on the journey to adopting our son. So I'll forever remember that Pride with great fondness, because until that point, I think I was walking around with my head in the clouds thinking everything was okay, going to Prides, thinking having a lovely time, drinking too much, staying out till all hours of the morning. But actually that brought through a significance, was that had I not gone there, I probably wouldn't have picked this up. So that was really important to me. So then picking up the opportunity to do Notts Pride, that again is front and centre. So you'll see that what our value strapline has always been: visibility, education and celebration. Now some people take the education element to think that that's about us educating people about being LGBTQ+, and it's absolutely not. It's about, for our community to have access to organisations that provide support, things they might not have known about, things they might have thought they can't access. So that's why you'll see there's employers, there's support networks, charities, fostering and adoption, to the point where we normally have to turn away probably around 60 or 70 applications for stalls that are probably traders. Whilst it would be lovely to have them there, again, I say it a lot, front and centre, our support organisations that are here in Nottingham. Because even if that touches one person and makes a difference, it's made a difference. That's what is important to me around the reason that we do Notts Pride. The other element of that is that we've got to celebrate our history. We've got to reflect on our past. We've got to remember what's gone to get us to this point. We've got to stop and think, right now, how are we in the present? And then we've got to look forward to the future. What are the things that we need to do? What are the things that we need to change? Who are the people that are going to come forward and do that? Can only exist and keep going because of the people and the volunteers that are part of it. I know you've got some founder members still going, and that's fantastic, but we've got to keep it moving. It's not for me, and I know people that watch this would think, well, they would think it's about who you've got on your lineup, who you've got on your stage. For me, it's not. It's about bringing everyone together. It's about understanding what it's like to live and to be LGBTQ+ within Nottingham, how you could work here, what's available to you, all of the things that you can access through work, leisure, entertainment and support. That's really what it's about for me. We need to see a lot more services for younger people. We need to see a lot more support around our younger trans community. I'd like to see a lot more support around that. In terms of the bigger picture stuff, then obviously we want to see equality for everybody. We want to see that huge change where that can happen. But even if that were to happen, I would still say we do need our safe spaces. We still need all of that because we're unique and we're fabulous and we want to celebrate that. Why wouldn't we? Equality for everybody. I think locally, a lot more of the support services available to people. You know, LGBT+ network is great. Base 51 is fantastic. They do a wonderful job, but there's loads more that could be done. And I think that's what we'd like to see. And it just doesn't happen overnight. When I started Notts Pride, I thought we would change the world on the first Pride that we did in 2014. And we did that on a shoestring budget. Things have changed. Things have got easier for us, which gives us more opportunity to think about, well, how can we start to make that difference? I have wonderful memories of LGBTQ+ community in Nottingham, right back to 1989 to where I am now. Christmas is always one that always brings those memories flooding back. When we had places like Gatsby's and Admiral Duncan, the Admiral Duncan used to have a Santa Claus at the top of the bar that would spray out, little snow that would flow out. Seeing people that you would see once a week, and now I'm older, you see it's nice to say hello or to catch up with people that you don't see. So my memories are long and very fond. There's been some ups and there's been some real lows, but it's always been as part of a community. And I think when you reflect on some of our history and you look at the core of the city in terms of Hockley, that's the place where I feel the warmest and the safest and always have. Even back when I probably wouldn't have known that. When you get Notts Pride and you come along, you get a little bit of me as well, trying to recreate some of those memories for everybody else, some of them emotions and some of those feelings about how it felt and how it should still feel to some extent.